everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome to MsMojo. Whether you've had the opportunity to see the musical on Broadway or are only a recent convert, it's clear from the success of 2024's Wicked Part 1 that this is a story that resonates with a lot of people on a lot of levels. If you need to take a deep dive into the things you love, that's what we're here for. Let's start by combing over the Easter eggs in Wicked Part 1.
But when the kids run through the tulip field at the very beginning to announce the death of the witch, listen.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're looking at the most swankified Easter eggs, references, and other small details hidden behind the emerald curtain. For those who haven't seen Wicked Part 1, there will be spoilers.
You still do the coin trick, and actually, I shouldn't
do the
really
coin
be
trick,
saying
yes.
this, but if you look close enough,
Number 10. Familiar friends follow the yellow brick road. The film opens with a bird's-eye view of Oz, complete with a rainbow and the Emerald City in the distance. During a sweeping shot, Dorothy, Toto, the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion head down the yellow brick road. Although they're only briefly spotted from behind, they can be seen carrying the Wicked Witch's broomstick after supposedly melting her. This is the most we see of Dorothy in the film, but the three friends she makes on her journey all play a larger role, even if you don't recognize them. For those who haven't seen the stage version of Wicked, we won't give away too much.
Look, this is one that I'm not going to say much about, but I'm going to say look at everyone's silhouettes. If you're a fan of the show and you know what's coming, look at everyone's silhouettes, and I think you're going to have a fun time.
Let's just say that much like the so-called Wicked Witch, things aren't always what they seem.
She had her secrets.
Number 9. The Wizard's Past Life.
Folks have come to expect that sort of thing. And you gotta give the people what they want.
The wizard may have plenty of tricks up his sleeve, but it's all smoke and mirrors. When Elphaba and Glinda realize that the wizard has no real powers, they escape behind the emerald curtain. The two stumble upon relics from the wizard's circus days, including the hot air balloon that brought him to Oz. Elphaba recognizes the wizard for what he truly is upon spotting a poster for his magic act.
You have no real power.
Exactly. That's why I need you.
The poster even features the wizard's real name. Well, not his full name, which was revealed to be Oscar Zoroaster Phaedrig Isaac Norman Henkel Emmanuel Ambroise Diggs in the Oz books.
I give you the Oz of
Tomorrow.
He was able to fool people into thinking that he could do something magical.
I think people need direction.
Even so, Elphaba sees that everything about the not-so-wonderful wizard was a lie, including the name his kingdom was built upon.
The best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy.
Number 8. Poppies.
Fiyero, what are you doing?
Well, you coming?
Elphaba and Fiyero grow closer after rescuing a lion cub who may or may not grow up to have a cowardly complex. The scene plays out pretty much as it did in the stage version, with one clever twist. On stage, Elphaba casts a vague spell to incapacitate the others in the classroom.
That was you who made all that happen.
Here, Elphaba uses a bouquet of poppies that she brought Dr. Dilliman to spread a sleeping spell. This is a nod to the deadly poppy field from the original Oz book and the 1939 film. In both, the poppies nearly send Dorothy into an eternal slumber. Elphaba initially doesn't realize the power within the flowers, but she'll surely remember this when she encounters Dorothy down the road.
Oh, you can't rest now. We're nearly there.
Number 7. A horse of a different color.
What's been amazing for me is falling into something huge and trust the free fall.
The stage musical introduces us to Fiyero as he arrives at Shiz University with his driver. In the film, Fiyero shows up to Shiz on a horse of a different color. We mean that literally. The colorful horse didn't originate from L. Frank Baum's books, but the 1939 movie.
What kind of a horse is that? I've never seen a horse like that before.
No, and never will again, I fancy. There's only one of him, and he's it. He's the horse of a different color you've heard tell about.
With Technicolor being a cornerstone of that cinematic classic, the filmmaker seized every opportunity to saturate the land of Oz, right down to the horse pulling Dorothy's carriage. In another change from the stage version, Elphaba is the first person Fiyero meets at Shiz. Just as his horse is a different color, Fiyero finds that Elphaba isn't like any girl he's ever met. Not because she's of a different color, but because rather something deeper.
We didn't see you there. You must have blended with the foliage.
Is this how you go through life? Just running amok and trampling anyone in your path?
No. No. Sometimes I'm asleep.
Number 6. Lion in the Basket. Liberating the lion cub from his cage, Elphaba places him in her bicycle's basket and rides into the forest. If you're getting deja vu, that's because Elphaba did something similar, yet completely different, in another life.
You wicked old witch! Uncle Henry, Auntie Em, don't let him take Joe. Don't let him take him, please! Stop first!
Put him in the basket, Henry.
In 1939's The Wizard of Oz, Elmira Gulch takes Toto from Dorothy, cycling away with the Cairn Terrier in her basket. Thankfully, she doesn't notice Toto slipping out and racing back to Dorothy. Although Dorothy and Toto escape Miss Gulch's clutches, they meet a greener reflection of their old neighbor in Oz.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Elphaba rescuing the lion mirrors Miss Gulch taking Toto. Of course, where Elphaba gets the lion to safety, we don't even want to think about what Gulch would have done with the little dog. Number 5. Breaking the Glass.
Oh, I saved you some space, by the way. Do you really think this is fair? I do not. I was promised a private suite. But thanks for asking.
Forced to share a dorm room, Elphaba would rather keep the door shut while Glinda wants it open. Finding a middle ground, Elphaba accidentally shatters the door's glass with her magic, leaving it open even when it's closed.
I don't know. I've never known.
In a way, this moment comes full circle during the climactic Defying Gravity. Taking flight, Elphaba bursts through the glass window, mirroring the aforementioned scene. This time, though, Elphaba purposely breaks the glass, reflecting how she's gained control of her powers. In both scenes, Glinda inspires Elphaba's actions, but for different reasons. When Elphaba broke the glass door, it was because Glinda got on her nerves. When she breaks the window, it's because Glinda has given Elphaba the confidence to realize her unlimited potential.
You can do anything.
Number 4. Erasing animal history.
This school has been generations of education to the people of Oz, and animal professors and Ozian professors all around.
The musical's political commentary is given even more focus in this film, with additional scenes dedicated to Dr. Dillamond and other animals, who are treated as second-class citizens.
We animals are now being blamed for everything that goes wrong.
When Elphaba first demonstrates her powers at Shiz, she accidentally causes several structures to crumble. One of them collapses to reveal an old mural that was built over.
The history of Oz should feel present.
Good luck, and welcome to Shiz!
The artwork features a faculty of animal academics, suggesting many species were once scholars at Shiz. That number has since shrunk, and soon enough, the contributions that animals have made to Oz may be paved over for good, in the name of quote-unquote progress. Even if animals can't talk in our world, there are parallels to how numerous cultures have essentially been erased from the history books.
There was a time before you were born when life in Oz was different. So, when and why did this change?
From what I've read, the Great Drought.
Precisely.
Number 3. Ruby Slippers.
You're gonna be popular. I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair, everything that really counts to be.
Dorothy's slippers were silver in L. Frank Baum's book. Wanting to showcase Technicolor's capabilities, MGM switched the slippers to red in their film adaptation.
Give me back my slippers. I'm the only one that knows how to use them.
Being a product of the 1939 musical, the ruby slippers have rarely popped up in other interpretations of Oz. Wicked is no exception, with Nessarose's father gifting her a pair of silver shoes. However, the filmmakers do sneak in a reference to the iconic ruby slippers. Giving her new bestie a lesson in popularity, Glinda teaches Elphaba many things. This includes what shoes to wear, handing her a pair of red heels. They may not be exact replicas of the trademarked ruby slippers, but it's clear what the filmmakers are doing while still staying in their legal jurisdictions. Speaking of shoes, if you take a look at the ones gifted to Nessa Rose, take special care to notice the tornado-esque heels, calling to mind her fate. Number 2. Echoes of For Good.
Pink goes good with green.
Goes well with green.
It so does.
Defying Gravity might be the big showstopper, but For Good is the emotional high point of Elphaba and Glinda's friendship.
Because I knew you. Because I knew you. I have been changed for good.
Since that tearjerker doesn't occur until Act 2, we'll have to wait a year to hear Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande perform the duet. That doesn't mean For Good is completely absent from this film.
Why, Miss Elphaba? Look at you. You're beautiful.
There are a handful of musical cues hinting at things to come. The most important moment comes during the Ozdust ballroom sequence. Realizing the error of her ways, Glinda joins Elphaba on the dance floor. It's the beginning of a beautiful friendship, with both truly seeing each other for the first time. This is highlighted through an instrumental version of For Good playing in the background.
To make them sing, to make them feel that after they've watched it, they've been changed for good.
Number 1. Cameos in Oz.
I got us tickets.
You coming?
Everyone will be there.
Erivo and Grande will surely be immortalized as cinema's Elphaba and Glinda, but the film doesn't forget their stage predecessors.
The sisterhood between Elphaba and Glinda, Glinda's comedy, seeing Kristen Chenoweth originate this role, seeing her on Broadway.
I'd never heard anything or seen anything like it.
Keeping it in the family, Glinda's mother is played by Alice Fern, who starred as Elphaba in the West End. A few other West End players drop into Oz, including Carrie Ellis and Diane Pilkington. For the Broadway crowd, the most notable cameos are saved for an extended version of One Short Day.
I wanna be in this life alone, so I'll be back for good someday. To make my life and make my way before today will wonder and endure.
Chronicling how the wizard came to Oz are two Wizamania superstars, played by the OG Elphaba and Glinda, Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. It's not Wicked without them, or its writers, Winnie Holtzman and Stephen Schwartz. Holtzman gets a special bit of dialogue, while the composer is given a special cameo as the guard who tells the best friends that the wizard will see them now.
The wizard will see you now!
Did any other Easter eggs stick out like a green thumb to you?
Well, these things I send to try on.
So, did you spot any of those Easter eggs? I think that fact about the shoes in L. Frank Baum's book actually being silver is really interesting. Actually, that ties into our next list, where we go over 5 ways Wicked stays true to The Wizard of Oz and 5 ways it's a totally different story. Let's check it out.
How do you find it weighing visually? You have to make up your own version of it.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the ways Wicked follows the yellow brick road set by The Wizard of Oz, and how it veers off the beaten track. If you're yet to see part 1 or you haven't seen the show, be gone before someone drops some spoilers on you. We're kidding, of course, but this is your spoiler warning for both part 1 and part 2 of Wicked.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz summons you to the Emerald City.
Number 5. Stays true. Costume design. Creating costumes for a movie as big as Wicked meant honoring The Wizard of Oz, nodding to Broadway, and still surprising fans. And Paul Tazwell's team delivered.
You're gonna be popular. I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair, everything that really counts to be.
The Wicked Witch of the West is that witch in pop culture, so keeping her iconic silhouette just made sense, though they gave her style some modern updates.
For Paul, his goal was to bring this iconic silhouette into a more modern frame of view. The way that I fabricated it turns it into something else.
As for Glinda, while Broadway's bubble dress is blue, Billy Burke's bubble entrance is an unforgettable image that served as inspiration here.
Where I took that was creating that silhouette with spiraled shapes and imagery that is reflective of the bubble.
It's also why the movie's Glinda practically lives in pink. You'll also spot the return of the original silver slippers, although there's a nod to the ruby pair too. Also, Nessa Rose's shoes feature tornado-shaped heels, foreshadowing her fate. Number 5. Totally different. The focus of the story.
Let me tell you the whole story. Our paths did cross. At school.
While The Wizard of Oz focuses on Dorothy's adventures in Oz, she's essentially just a footnote in Wicked. In fact, she only appears momentarily. Gregory Maguire, who wrote the source novel, was inspired by events in the 90s and the power the media has to shape public opinion. He considered how the most famous fictional Wicked character is only known by that label without further exploring her story.
This is the Wicked Witch of the West. She's worse than the other one was.
He took the fantastical world of Oz and grounded it in reality, dealing with issues like friendships, power struggles, love, and how society rejects those seen as different.
One's difference doesn't make them wrong or bad, it just makes them special. And I think that that's a bigger, wider idea that we can all share with the world.
The musical explores identity, injustice, and how perceptions are formed, leading to Elphaba's fate and Glinda's rise as the Good Witch. Number 4 stays true, Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Perhaps one of the most frustratingly catchy numbers in The Wizard of Oz is Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow, 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 follow the yellow brick road.
Yet it's a key part of Dorothy's journey, helping her meet new friends and leading her to the wizard. On Broadway, the Yellow Brick Road doesn't play as big of a role, though the wizard explains to Elphaba why he built it, and that melody even appears in Defying Gravity.
Can't I make you understand? You're having delusions of grandeur.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road.
In the film, the wizard unveils his grand plan for an Oz where all paths lead to him. We're surprised he even needed a hot air balloon with such an inflated ego. All that's missing is the perfect color, and that's where Elphaba and Glinda leave their first mark on Oz.
People need direction.
When this thing gets built, everybody's going to remember
That if you just follow the road, it's gonna lead you right to me.
Number 4, totally different, the merry old land of Oz. In L. Frank Baum's book, anyone entering the Emerald City has to wear emerald-tinted glasses.
Every way that you look in the city, there's something exquisite you'll want to visit before the day's through.
They're told it's because the city's brightness and glory would be too much for their eyes, but really it's just to uphold the wizard's illusion. The 1939 film takes a different approach, convincing everyone that the Emerald City is a jolly old town, which Dorothy and her friends accept, no questions asked.
We get up at 12 and start to work at 1. Take an hour for lunch and then at 2 we're done. Jolly good fun!
Elphaba and Glinda are initially dazzled by the city's grandeur too, but after meeting the wizard, Elphaba starts to spot the cracks in the facade. She takes off her metaphorical glasses and pulls back the curtain, revealing a regime built on the very prejudices she's been fighting.
I give you the Oz of tomorrow.
He was able to fool people into thinking that he could do something magical.
Number 3, stays true, origin stories for characters. If you have no idea what's coming up in part 2, you may want to skip ahead. All clear? Okay, let's talk about how Wicked gives Dorothy's companions their origin stories, starting with the Scarecrow. In Dancing Through Life, Fiyero sings,
"Life is painless for the brainless."
An ode to living the unexamined life. See where we're going with this? Now for Bach.
Bach Woodsman of Munchkinland.
His storyline shows how he loses his heart to Glinda, but when she doesn't feel the same, he settles for Nessa Rose. By Act 2, he literally becomes heartless.
It's due to her I'm made of tin, her spell made this occur. So for once I'm glad I'm heartless, I'll be heartless killing her.
Sound familiar? Finally, there's the trembling caged lion cub Elphaba and Fiyero rescue. Elphaba gets blamed for his nervous disposition rather than those who caged him, which brings us to our next point.
And the lion also has a grievance to repay. If she let him fight his own battles when he was young, he wouldn't be a coward today.
Number 3, totally different. Justice for animals. In The Wizard of Oz, we see the horse of a different color and the flying monkeys, both serving human masters. The cowardly lion is the only speaking animal, and he has hope for his future in Oz. In Wicked, animals represent marginalized and oppressed groups, showing the prejudice and injustice of being treated as other. Once, animals and humans lived in peace, but after a severe drought, people needed someone to blame.
There was a time before you were born when life in Oz was different. So, when and why did this change?
From what I've read, the Great Drought.
The wizard took advantage of this, promising a better future if people followed his lead. Soon animals were cast out, losing the qualities that once made them equals. This serves as a chilling reflection of social injustices in history and even today.
You're not being told the whole story!
You can't permit this.
Number 2 stays true. The wizard is a fraud. Toward the end of The Wizard of Oz, Toto pulls back the curtain on the wizard to reveal a man with little more than a knack for showmanship.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. The great Oz has spoken.
Who are you?
Oh, I am the great and powerful Wizard of Oz.
Dorothy calls him a bad man, but he's quick to explain that he's not bad. He's just not the leader everyone expects him to be. In both versions, he also explains how he ended up in this position of power.
I will be wonderful, and they said wonderful. Believe me, it's hard to resist.
In Wicked, Elphaba catches on to the wizard's scam pretty quickly.
Folks have come to expect that sort of thing. And you gotta give the people what they want.
The most magical thing he does in the film is pull a coin from behind her ear, and she spots a poster from his circus days. This wizard also tries to convince Elphaba he's not so bad, and it almost works. Almost.
You have no real power.
Exactly. That's why I need you.
Number 2, totally different. The ending. Dorothy goes on this epic adventure in Oz, culminating with her melting the Wicked Witch and clicking her heels together, only to find out it was all a dream.
But it wasn't a dream. It was a place. And you, and you, and you, and you were there.
Oh, sure.
But you couldn't have been, could you?
Wicked may not be a literal prequel to The Wizard of Oz, but if it was, Dorothy sure has a powerful subconscious to dream up a backstory for everyone she meets. Wicked ends with Elphaba and Glinda parting ways for what seems like the very last time, leading up to that famous melting scene.
Melting! Melting! Oh, what a world! What a world! Who would have thought a good little girl like you could destroy my beautiful wickedness?
But without giving too much away, unlike the Wicked Witch, Elphaba's story doesn't end there. Who can say if Wicked's ending was changed for the better? But one thing's for sure, it stayed with us for good.
Because I knew you. Because I knew you. I have been changed for good.
Number 1 stays true, the power of friendship. The Wizard of Oz is all about self-discovery, inner strength, and realizing that home isn't just a place, but a feeling of love and belonging. Friendship plays a huge role, teaching the value of trust and support on life's big journey.
We know each other now, don't we?
That's right, we do. To Oz? To Oz.
We come to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
In Wicked, Elphaba and Glinda's bond shapes their lives and the choices they make too. Despite their differences, they form an unlikely friendship that helps them grow.
After you, Madame. Let's see. Pink goes good with green.
Goes well with green.
It so does.
Their relationship faces challenges, misunderstandings, jealousy, and conflicting beliefs, but proves that true friendship can survive it all. As they deal with power, identity, and societal pressure, their friendship remains a constant source of strength. It provides emotional support in a world that often tries to pull them apart.
You can do anything.
I know. I think that we are all deserving of friendship and kindness and love, no matter who we are.
Yeah!
And this film celebrates that.
Number 1. Totally different. Are people born wicked? In The Wizard of Oz, we're told that the very objective scale of attractiveness is enough to determine whether someone is good or bad.
I'm Glinda, the Witch of the North.
You are? Oh, I beg your pardon, but I've never heard of a beautiful witch before.
Only bad witches are ugly.
Yep, that's all it takes. But Wicked flips that tired trope on its head in its opening number, asking,
Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them?
Take Elphaba. She's got a huge heart, but most people can't see beyond her skin color, making her feel like a perpetual outsider. Then there's Glinda, or Glinda, who might seem like your textbook mean queen bee, but actually shows a lot of goodness too.
She doesn't give a twig what anyone thinks.
Something is not the same. Of course she does. She just pretends not to.
Meanwhile, the wizard beloved by Oz is nothing but a self-serving charlatan hiding behind smoke and mirrors. So how did Elphaba end up as the wicked one?
The best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy.
Did we miss any similarities or differences that should have hit us like a house falling from the sky?
Everybody is going to remember
That if you just follow the road, it's going to lead you right to me.
So now we've seen how Wicked differs from The Wizard of Oz, but how does Wicked the movie differ from Wicked the musical? Let's find out.
I think people need direction.
when this thing gets built, everybody is going to remember that if you just follow the road.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're looking at the most significant differences between the Wicked movie and the stage musical's first act.
Expect the unexpected.
Beware the following spoilers. Number 10. Elphaba becomes popular with Shiz students. While the students of Shiz University aren't drastically different in the film, there are a few tweaks. Glinda's friend Fanny is gender-swapped, being played by Bowen Yang.
It's my granny's. I'd give it away, but I don't hate anyone that much.
Hey.
You should join us tonight. And don't tell me you have nothing to wear, because you could wear this.
More time is also dedicated to Bach, who's even given a last name, Woodsman. We're sure that's not foreshadowing anything in the slightest. Most notably, Glinda makes good on her promise to make Elphaba popular.
You're gonna be popular. I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair, everything that really counts to be.
Not long after winning over the Ozdust ballroom crowd, Elphaba is surprised to receive friendly hellos from her peers as she passes by. It's a sign that Glinda isn't Elphaba's only friend. All of the students finally accept her. In the end, Elphaba sacrifices her chance to be with the wizard, as well as her newfound social status. Number 9. More Wizard of Oz references. The stage production didn't shy away from references to 1939's The Wizard of Oz. The film works in more Ozian Easter eggs as Dorothy, Toto, the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Cowardly Lion head for the Emerald City. Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead can be briefly heard while children run through the flower fields. Speaking of flowers, Elphaba rescues the lion cub by putting her class to sleep with poppies.
That was you who made all that happen.
She proceeds to put the lion in a basket and bikes away with it, just as Miss Gulch did to Toto. The Yellow Brick Road's origins are also laid out as the wizard unveils the Oz of tomorrow. The wizard isn't sure what color to make the road, but with help from Glinda and Elphaba, he's put on the right path.
I give you the Oz of tomorrow.
Number 8. Miss Coddle. Upon arriving at Shiz, Nessa and Elphaba meet Miss Coddle, played by Keala Settle.
And welcome to Shiz!
Miss Coddle wasn't in the stage musical or Gregory Maguire's books, being the most significant character created for the film. Living up to her name, the headmistress immediately coddles Nessa, becoming defensive with Elphaba. In the stage version, Elphaba clashes with Madame Morrible when she tries to wheel Nessa away. Miss Coddle fills in for Morrible during another scene where the students learn that Dr. Dillamond has been let go from Shiz.
Listen to me! You're not being told the whole story!
You can't permit this.
I'm afraid it's out of our hands.
By turning Miss Coddle into an antagonistic figure, Morrible comes off as more affectionate toward Elphaba. This makes it all the more shocking when Elphaba's mentor shows her true colors and declares her wicked.
Don't let her get away! This wicked witch.
Number 7. Elphaba's sessions with Madame Morrible.
Come with me.
Of course.
Not you. You. You're the one the wizard has been waiting for.
In the stage musical, Elphaba attends Shiz for the sole purpose of looking after Nessa. Elphaba doesn't start off as a student in the movie. She's only at Shiz to make sure Nessa is settled in at their father's request. After seeing the power that she possesses, Madame Morrible pulls some strings to enroll Elphaba.
We have nothing but the highest hopes for some of you.
Morrible also takes credit for Elphaba's magic display in the school courtyard, keeping her powers under wraps. Like in the stage show, Morrible offers to personally tutor Elphaba. This time, though, we actually get to see their private lessons as Elphaba hones her powers, finding how they're connected to her emotions.
No one should be scorned, or laughed at, or told to keep quiet. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
These scenes go a step further in establishing Morrible as a friend who is truly a foe. Number 6. How Fiyero meets Elphaba.
We didn't see you there. You must have blended with the foliage.
Is this how you go through life? Just running amok and trampling anyone in your path?
No. No. Sometimes I'm asleep.
Fiyero makes his debut in the stage musical Riding on the Back of a Carriage. Bidding farewell to his driver, Fiyero doesn't see Elphaba for the first time until the dance at the Ozdust Ballroom. The film forms a connection between the two earlier on. Fiyero shows up to Shiz on horseback, meeting Elphaba before he encounters anyone else. Elphaba immediately thinks she has the shallow and self-absorbed prince all figured out.
I see that the responsibility to corrupt my fellow students falls to me.
You pretend to be shallow and self-absorbed.
Excuse me. There is no pretense here. I happen to be genuinely self-absorbed and deeply shallow.
Fiyero is surprised that Elphaba doesn't fall head over heels for him, but there's a first time for everything. It's a nice meet-cute hinting that these two opposites are made for one another, even if neither realizes it yet. Number 5. Dancing Through Life.
Life is fraughtless when you're thoughtless. Those who don't try never look foolish. Dancing through life.
Dancing Through Life remains one of the musical's most toe-tapping songs, but director John M. Chu gives the number his signature with a change of scenery. The song now commences at the Shiz library where the bookshelves rotate like a hamster wheel, or a tornado wheel as Chu prefers to describe it.
Some people call it a hamster wheel. I hated that name, so I was like, let's call it a tornado wheel from now on.
Keep it ozian.
Yes.
And yes, this was a practical set. In the stage show and film, the number builds to a finale at the Ozdust Ballroom. Instead of a traditional ballroom, Chu envisions the Ozdust as a nightclub. It's akin to a speakeasy where animals play instruments. With animals becoming second-class citizens in Oz, it makes sense that an underground lounge would be one of the few places they'd be permitted to perform. Number 4. Elphaba's childhood and family.
I did not eat grass as a child. I've always been green.
Although we witness Elphaba's birth in the stage version, the film explores her childhood in greater detail. She was essentially raised by her nanny Dulcibert, giving Elphaba further incentive to fight for animal rights later in life. While the other kids in Munchkinland ridiculed her, Elphaba nonetheless formed a bond with her sister Nessa Rose.
You want to see something amazing? Yeah. This is all about our wonderful Wizard of Oz.
As Nessa seeks a fresh start at Shiz, though, she grows further away from Elphaba. Elphaba and Nessa Rose's father isn't drastically different, still favoring one daughter over the other.
Go with her.
What?
If anything should happen to her.
She'll be fine.
However, the Munchkinland governor is given more screen time, including an uncomfortable meeting with Bach.
That perfectly adorable Munchkin boy just asked
me out.
Given his fate at the end of the film, don't expect to see much of their father in the sequel. Number 3. Elphaba's Visions.
And that's how we'll begin, the wizard and I.
During The Wizard and I, Elphaba mentions a vision almost like a prophecy, envisioning a celebration across Oz that's all to do with her.
But I swear someday there'll be a celebration throughout Oz. It's all to do with me.
Of course, Oz celebrating the Wicked Witch's death isn't what she had in mind. The stage musical never makes it clear if Elphaba is just daydreaming or if she can really see glimpses of the future. The film firmly establishes Elphaba's prognostic power. Elphaba senses that something bad is indeed happening in Oz, receiving a vision of Dr. Dillamond being locked away in a cage.
Something bad is happening in Oz.
As she realizes what the wizard is doing to animals, Elphaba finds that her visions are becoming a reality. We expect Elphaba's visions will factor into Part 2 as a house comes crashing down into Oz.
Best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy.
Number 2. More animal rights commentary.
There was a time before you were born when life in Oz was different. So, when and why did this change?
From what I've read, The Great Drought.
Prejudice against Oz's animals is a key part of the musical's political commentary. The film digs deeper into this theme, showing how animals were once respected scholars at Shiz. Ever since the wizard rose to power, the animals have slowly been erased from history.
Animals are no longer permitted to teach.
What? Dr. Dillamond expresses his fears in the Something Bad number, which was a duet between him and Elphaba on stage. The movie's rendition of the song adds several talking animals who share Dr. Dillamond's trepidation that they may lose their voices.
Something bad happening.
That's it. I'm leaving Oz while I can still speak the word goodbye.
With the animal population dwindling, some are compelled to flee before it's too late.
We animals are now being blamed for everything that goes wrong.
While they aren't on screen for long, the presence of the other animals emphasizes that there's a whole society being silenced, not just a token goat. Number 1. One Short Day.
So I'll be back for good someday to make my life and make my way before today will wonder and enjoy.
Of all the musical numbers, One Short Day is expanded upon the most. A new section is added to Wizomania, detailing the significance of the Grimoire. This spellbook is derived from the so-called Wise Ones. After the Wise Ones passed on, it was prophesied that someone else with the ability to read the Grimoire would arrive in Oz.
In Oz's darkest hour, though we cannot say when, there will come one with all power to read the Grimoire.
When the wizard dropped in, that prophecy was seemingly fulfilled. In addition to expanding Oz's lore, this sequence provides an opportunity for Idina Menzel and Kristin Chenoweth to make cameos as Wizomania superstars. Michael McCory Rose, who once understudied for Fiyero, also appears as a narrator along with writer Winnie Holtzman.
He can read it! He must be a wizard!
One short scene can certainly pack in a ton of information and talent.
And Oz, which had been sad and blind, once more will sing a joyous.
Are there any changes we missed?
Look at her, she's wicked. Get it! Whoa. Whoa. What? What are we doing? Kill it. Whoa. Hey. Oh. Hey, yo. I did not sign up for that.
Watching the press tour for Wicked, you can really tell how much care went into the making of this movie, and how much fun they must have had while making it. Here are 10 of the best behind-the-scenes stories about the making of Wicked.
Those lines, are those written or improv?
Those were mostly improvised.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most heartwarming tales from the set of Wicked that give us all the more reason to be obsessed with this iconic movie musical.
It was an immediate no-brainer for Cynthia and I. We both were like, well, of course we're singing live.
Number 10. Anything for the Piercings. Historically, you might be used to prosthetic noses or chins on witches in film and TV. While Wicked resorts to no such stereotypes, prosthetics were a huge part of actress Cynthia Erivo's makeup for Elphaba, specifically for her ears.
My ears? Well, see, because my ears are covered in piercings, right? Instead of taking out all the piercings, we put prosthetic over it so that it covers up my ear.
You may have noticed the star donning a number of stunning earrings during the press tour for the film. It was for those piercings that the Wicked team created a shell to save our heroine the trouble of having to take her jewelry off every time.
So my ear is underneath the ear. Yeah, that's my real ear.
It will hurt you when you're taking it off.
It won't hurt me when I take it off.
If you have even just a few piercings, you'll know how brilliant an idea this was.
I have found myself getting really protective of her. Everything from the freckles that she has to the boots that she wears, and I'm really particular about it because I know what this person represents and what I want to say with her.
Number 9, an old friend. Unless you're an eagle-eyed equine specialist, you probably didn't notice that Jonathan Bailey rides the same horse in both Bridgerton and Wicked.
You know, Fiyero has a horse, he has a steed, and I knew there was only one man for the job, and that was Jack, the horse that I worked with in Bridgerton.
What you might have picked up on, however, is how perfectly in sync he was with his furry friend. Their obvious bond is exactly why Bailey was so particular about bringing his former castmate, named Jack, along for the musical ride. In fact, Bailey recommended the steed the very first day he met director John M. Chu.
He's a sentient being, and he's very present and calm when you need him to be.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, hopefully, you know.
As if we needed any more reasons to fall head over heels in love with this man.
Is this how you go through life? Just running amok and trampling anyone in your path?
No. No. Sometimes I'm asleep.
Number 8. Don't forget the souvenirs. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo spent the past few years of their lives dedicating themselves to Wicked. Along the way, they picked up some souvenirs.
Stealing stuff on set, but they don't think I know.
Did somebody take any postcards here?
I stole one.
We stole.
This included Glinda's wand and Elphaba's broom, the latter of which now graces Erivo's wall.
Well, the thing is, I got really used to like how to hold it and how to catch it if I needed to.
But she can catch a broom. It can be anywhere.
But I think I just got really attached to it. I sort of like understood it.
They also snuck away more commonplace items like books, cardigans, and a ton of snow globes from the sound of it. Most surprisingly, the Thank You Next singer took home a pair of Erivo's prosthetic ears and, quote, a piece of Johnny Bailey, which she couldn't say more about without spoiling part 2. We can't blame the stars for one moment. If we were in their shoes, we'd be pilfering all kinds, too.
Look what I found.
Yeah, my pile of things that I'm stealing.
Nice to see you.
I'm excited to attempt to get through airport security with this. I will take one. You can't. I don't think I'll be stopped.
Number 7. Songbirds Unite. Director John M. Chu left no stone unturned in bringing the Wicked set to life as realistically as possible. The Enchanted Forest was created with real flora and attracted actual fauna, too.
We have an enchanted forest built, so it was real. But there's real biochemistry in there. So it's like plants that are real, and it's wonderful. So birds made homes in our set. So when I would sing, they would start singing.
In an interview, Erivo shared that by the time they were filming in the forest, there were birds living in nooks and crannies. It seems the only reason anyone found out is because when she'd sing, the birds would join in.
I thought it was like a sound. I thought Simon had like played something. I thought someone was playing a track. So I thought it was like not real. And then I would stop and they would stop.
It's a pity their background vocals didn't make the final cut, but they sure created magic on set. Mother Nature must be a Cynthia stan.
Every time she would start singing, they would sing again. That was amazing. It was like they understood the magic that was happening in the space.
Number 6. Defying expectations. Gravity wasn't the only thing Ariana Grande was defying for Wicked. She destroyed preconceived notions about her pop star status and the doubts that came with it through the sheer passion she had for the project.
If this is really happening and if they are going to start seeing people for it, I just want to be so prepared. I want to take
all of the acting lessons, all of the singing lessons. I want to train my voice to become coloratura soprano, like legit opera. I have to honor this the way that it requires.
Everyone had to audition for this movie, including Grande.
You know, she had maybe a higher bar than everyone else because she has such a public persona, and I really didn't want it to overshadow this role of Glinda. I wanted to find Glinda.
As someone who's long since been outspoken about wanting to portray Glinda, Grande put her heart and soul into all 5 of her auditions, even going in barefaced upon request. Even the director, who initially wanted to cast lesser-known actors in the leading roles, had no choice but to recognize her talent.
Hey, what if you came back and just didn't have any of your makeup? I did not know how that would go over. Not even a question. She came in and did that, and I saw her in a totally new light that I'd never seen her in.
Number 5, Multitasking Extraordinaires. Jonathan Bailey is arguably one of the busiest men in Hollywood right now.
You're the bane of my existence. And the object of all my desires.
That's great news for us, but it must be unbelievably hectic for him. While making Wicked, he was simultaneously filming for Bridgerton and Fellow Travelers. So when he wasn't swooning over Kate Sharma, he was dancing through life and into Hawk Fuller's arms. It's a testament to his massive talent, especially with how strikingly different the 3 roles are from one another. Similarly, Bowen Yang, who plays Fanny, also divided his time between London and New York to do Wicked and SNL at the same time. Huge props to both actors.
Lauren was like, you can't miss shows. I was like, totally, King. I understand. I won't do it. And so I let the dream go. I was like, oh, I was almost in Wicked. That would have been so fun. And then Ari picked up the phone and called him. And then he was like, okay, sure. He's an Arianator, apparently.
Number 4, Glinda's Suite. The dream space that was Glinda's suite, which she shares with Elphaba in Wicked, may have been larger than life, but in reality was quite cramped.
Oh, I saved you some space, by the way.
Do you really think this is fair?
I do not. I was promised a private suite. But thanks for asking.
Despite being crafted with incredible attention to detail and the utmost care, it proved rather challenging to film in. For some scenes that called for top-down shots, the roof of the room had to be completely removed.
We did a couple of times remove things like the roof of the set so we could do bed shots. And we poked our crane through a couple of times through the front door and the balcony door.
Not even the director had a spot to monitor the scenes. So he did what any committed professional would do, supervise from under the bed.
We find the spaces, we find the nooks and crannies that we work into our choreography, our blocking, our camera work.
Unfortunately, Chu wasn't the most inconspicuous in his hiding spot, which we can only imagine broke the cast a few too many times. Number 3, Honoring the OGs. Grande has described the movie as a love letter to not only the original musical, but also its cast, which we think sums it up perfectly.
And with an assist from me to be who you'll be, instead of dreary who you were, well, are. There's nothing that can stop you from becoming popular. Lar.
The singer's biggest goal, perhaps, was making her Broadway counterpart Kristin Chenoweth proud.
She came backstage into my dressing room and said, I want to play Glinda, in her same voice she has now. And I said in my same voice, and you will.
Chenoweth, for her part, advised Grande to put her own spin on the character, later saying in an interview that Grande did just that. Cynthia Erivo also reached out to the original Elphaba, Idina Menzel, as soon as she was cast.
After you sing the film, that voice note, I still play it sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I saved mine too.
I saved the voice notes and I play them a lot. I meant it. I know, I think it meant a lot.
In response, she was told to, quote, be everything she needed to be and enjoy the experience. The pair were so touched by their forerunners, they insisted on involving them in the new movie, giving us a cameo for the ages.
You know, the family from 20 years ago, like, here.
We were the originals.
Yeah. Don't forget about us. It was us first.
Number 2, all the improvised moments. Successfully improvising in a musical so beloved and of such caliber can be no easy feat.
We would do a take that was very what's written on the page, and then he would just say, you know, play and see whatever we would do, just do it. And that was really fun.
Yet Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo pull it off with ease, and in the best moments of the film, no less. From Glinda's sky-high kick in Popular to Elphaba's comforting wink in Defying Gravity, there's no shortage of improv moments adorning this movie.
On every camera take, like John M. Chu, the director, a wonderful director, was like, now doing just for fun, now doing just you. Like, there's something that you would say like off the cuff at an ad lib, and I was like, okay, if you want. And then this man pulled a fast one on me. He used every single ad lib.
Apparently, the scene where Glinda has her fairy godmother moment, flicking her wand to give Elphaba a new outfit, took 5 hours to shoot because Grande kept making it funnier each time.
It is my heart's desire to become a sorceress. Seriously? I need to lie down.
Number 1. Live musical chops. This one will elevate your respect for our leading ladies up by about 1,000 notches. Both stars sang completely live for the entirety of the film. Yes, that includes when Arivo is levitating for Defying Gravity, held up by harnesses.
Back to the western sky. Has someone told me lately? Everyone deserves a chance to fly.
Has that ever happened in a movie before?
And also when Grande spun from the chandelier with nothing but core strength supporting her. Even Jonathan Bailey, who did his own stunts, sang his parts.
Dancing through life, mindless and careless. Make sure you're wearless when you're dancing through life. And I just had a vision.
Regardless of how demanding their scenes got, it was deeply important to Grande and Arivo that they connected with the live aspect of musical theater. The atmosphere on set was so emotionally charged from their vocals that it often left the crew in tears. Well, at least now we don't feel so bad for crying in the theater.
No wizard that there is or was is ever gonna bring me.
What was your favorite song and dance number in Wicked?
You will never understand how important it is to me for musical films to record live vocals. I am so glad it's catching on. But anyway, if you were so excited about Wicked that you went home and immediately watched The Wizard of Oz, but that caused you to ask some new questions about the movie, this next list is for you. Things we notice in The Wizard of Oz after watching Wicked. But watch out, if you don't know what happens in the rest of Wicked, there may be some spoilers.
We know each other now, don't we?
That's right, we do. To Oz? To Oz.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the things that hit us like a house falling from the sky when we rewatch The Wizard of Oz after seeing Wicked. If you haven't seen Wicked or don't know what's coming in part 2, this is your spoiler warning.
Just as for fun, the melody of the Unlimited theme is actually the first 7 notes of Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Number 10. How did the lion learn to speak? Let's address the flying monkey in the room. Yes, we know Wicked doesn't perfectly align with L. Frank Baum's world, but hear us out.
Listen to me! You're not being told the whole story!
The lion cub, terrified and seemingly incapable of human speech, first appears in a history class on cages. Elphaba and Fiyero free him, but what happens next?
Fiyero, what are you doing?
Well, you coming?
All we know is that he grows into that lion. With animals losing their human-like traits, how did he even learn to talk?
I haven't any courage at all. I even scare myself. Look at the cycles under my eyes. I haven't slept in weeks.
Is there a hidden animal refuge in Oz? If so, wouldn't that be where his cowardice came from? And honestly, it's a bit presumptuous to assume that without Elfie, he would have even had a chance to fight his own battles at all.
And the lion also has a grievance to repay. If she let him fight his own battles when he was young, he wouldn't be a coward today.
Number 9. The relationship between Glinda and the Wicked Witch. The central love story of Wicked is the one between Elphaba and Glinda. They go from enemies to besties, and as we leave them in part 1, they've just said their tearful farewells. Sadly, their next meeting isn't so friendly, but it does fall into the Wizard of Oz timeline. Is it just us, or is it hard not to look for subtext in their interactions?
Their magic must be very powerful, or she wouldn't want them so badly.
You stay out of this, Glinda, or I'll fix you as well.
Oh, rubbish. You have no power here. Be gone before somebody drops a house on you, too.
Suddenly, we're not just seeing two sworn enemies, but two people who definitely have a history. Within Wicked's context, both have their reasons for being furious, one of which is addressed in this scene.
Who killed my sister? Who killed the Witch of the East? Was it you?
No, it was an accident. I didn't mean to kill anybody.
Knowing what's to come definitely makes us watch it all differently. Number 8, those poor flying monkeys. Hands up, who else was absolutely terrified of those flying monkeys as a kid? It's practically a childhood rite of passage.
Now fly! Fly!
Since they are the Wicked Witch's minions, we really couldn't see anything other than the winged beasts that haunted our nightmare. But Wicked gives us an origin story for how these primates got their wings, and it's heartbreaking. Spoiler time, the wizard manipulates Elphaba into casting the spell, turning them into flying spies to help oppress the animals.
You have no real power.
That's why I need you.
Don't let her get away!
So yeah, still terrifying, but now tragic too. If their Wizard of Oz appearance terrifies you, just wait. We may never stop fearing them, but at least our terror now comes with a side of sympathy.
Something bad is happening in Oz.
Number 7. Why the wizard was so keen to get out of Oz. In Baum's book, the Emerald City is just a green-tinted illusion, a detail the 1939 movie mostly skips.
Nobody's ever seen the Great Oz. Even I've never seen him.
Well, then how do you know there is one?
Because I don't.
Though it might explain why the same guy plays the gatekeeper, guard, cabbie, and wizard in the Merry Land of Oz. As Wicked makes clear, the wizard is actually a pretty awful guy.
They were the lines they wanted to hear. Elphaba, where I'm from, we believe all sorts of things.
Some have noted the film's timeliness, but given Oz's history, the parallels aren't exactly shocking. Anyway, toward the movie's end, the wizard offers to escort Dorothy home himself.
Well, you forced me into a cataclysmic decision. The only way to get Dorothy back to Kansas is for me to take her there myself.
A selfless, heroic act? Maybe not. Spoiler incoming, following some dramatic events, Glinda banishes him from Oz. So Dorothy's departure conveniently lets him leave with his reputation intact, at least in the eyes of his devotees.
I, your wizard, Paradua ad Alta, am about to embark upon a hazardous and technically unexplainable journey into the outer stratosphere.
Not that he ends up helping her either. Number 6. Some familiar choreography. The movie's creative teams watched the stage version of Dancing Through Life and said, okay, now watch this. It's a spectacular showstopper with so much to take in.
Perfect. You're perfect.
So we're perfect together, born to be forever, dancing through life.
One thing we think we noticed is some choreography that seems to be inspired by the Scarecrow's moves in If I Only Had a Brain. Nothing to read into there. Also, when the full ensemble dances together, it's almost giving hints of the deleted Jitterbug number from the 1939 film. Hey, if they weren't using it, why not? Elsewhere, you'll notice characters tend to have a little skip in their step that feels as if they're following in the path of their cinematic predecessor.
We come to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Here he is, the wizard of a wizard, if ever a wizard there was.
Number 5. Who controls the weather in Oz? Not to get too deep, but after watching Wicked, it's hard not to see the 1939 film as the propaganda version of events, while Wicked reveals the truth.
Let me tell you the whole story.
Take the tornado, for instance. Isn't it suspiciously convenient that it struck Oz at just the right time, dropping a house squarely on the Wicked Witch of the East? As Wicked reveals, this was no random act of nature. With that in mind, if someone could conjure a deadly tornado, couldn't they also whip up, say, a catastrophic drought?
When life in Oz was different. So, when and why did this change?
From what I've read, the Great Drought.
Precisely.
Now, who in Oz might have a talent for manipulating the weather? Perhaps someone who supports the oppression of animals? It's like the wizard himself says.
Best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy.
Number 4. So that's where we've heard that melody before. While watching Wicked, did you find yourself thinking, where have I heard this before? Then you rewatched The Wizard of Oz and suddenly it all clicked.
She's gone! She's dead!
Yes, that was a nod to Ding Dong the Witch is Dead just before No One Mourns the Wicked. And yeah, those were subtle hints of optimistic voices we could hear in one short day.
Keep straight ahead for the most glorious place on the face of the earth or the sky. So I'll be back for good someday to make my life and make my way.
Oh, and while listening to Follow the Yellow Brick Road, did you suddenly find yourself singing,
Can't I make you understand? You're having delusions of grandeur.
Wicked borrows plenty from the Wizard of Oz score, but perhaps the most iconic is the Unlimited theme, which uses the same first 7 notes as Over the Rainbow, just with a few Schwartzian twists.
Completely different rhythmically and harmonically. It goes somewhere over the rainbow. And the Unlimited theme is... and so on.
Number 3, Glinda the Good? We don't think so. When we first watched The Wizard of Oz, we accepted Glinda as the good witch. She's beautiful after all, right? But now we can't help but see someone who, like her Wicked counterpart, hasn't fully earned the title.
They're gone! The ruby slippers! What have you done with them? Give them back to me or I'll... It's too late. There they are, and there they'll stay.
For starters, she seems to enjoy the Munchkin celebration a bit too much, especially given her personal connection to the deceased. And Glinda, Dorothy made an enemy of the Wicked Witch.
I'm afraid you've made rather a bad enemy of the Wicked Witch of the West. The sooner you get out of Oz altogether, the safer you sleep, my dear.
No, hun, you did that when you handed over her sister's shoes. Also, Follow the Yellow Brick Road. What, were the trains on strike? Yes, we're aware that's a new addition. If Dorothy's life was in danger, and it's your fault, maybe skip the life lessons and just send her home.
You've always had the power to go back to Kansas. I have.
Then why didn't you tell her before?
Because she wouldn't have believed me. She had to learn it for herself.
Number 2. Why is the Scarecrow hanging out with Dorothy? Dorothy's more mature companions raised eyebrows long before Wicked, but now with the musical's backstories, we have even more questions, especially about the Scarecrow. Spoiler again, in Part 2, we learn Fiyero left Glinda for Elphaba, and later she unintentionally turns him into a scarecrow to save his life.
Look up! Who is the chanting? I don't even know what I'm reading! I don't even know what trick I ought to try! Fiyero, where are you?
So why is he hanging out with the girl who's wearing his girlfriend's late sister's shoes and who's tasked with stealing her transportation? Maybe he really is brainless if he's getting cozy with those who want her dead, or with the guy who forced his beloved to live as an outlaw.
Doctor of Thinkology. Sum of the square roots of any two sides of an isosceles triangle is equal to the square root of the remaining side. Oh, joy! Rapture!
This has to be part of a bigger plan, right? Because as it stands, it makes 0 sense.
I'm not afraid of her. I'll see you get safely to the wizard now, whether I get a brain or not.
Number 1. We now have more empathy for the Wicked Witch of the West. Back in the day, good and evil were seen as black and white, but Wicked challenges that.
Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them?
We can't be the only ones who find ourselves siding with the witch in this scene.
Give me back my slippers. I'm the only one that knows how to use them. They're no use to you. Give them back to me. Give them back.
Keep tight inside of them. Their magic must be very powerful, or she wouldn't want them so badly.
Wouldn't you be mad? We sure would. We might not have gone full Wicked Witch on anyone, but we get her frustration. Also, have you listened to her as she melts?
Oh, what a world, what a world! Who would have thought a good little girl like you could destroy my beautiful wickedness? Ah, look out! Look out! I'm going!
It's so dramatic, almost like she's just doing it for show. It would also explain why someone with an aversion to water would leave a bucket full lying around. With our newfound empathy for her, we like to think she found a fresh start somewhere, maybe with a certain scarecrow in tow. Is there anything else that struck you about The Wizard of Oz after watching Wicked?
Just follow the road. It's gonna lead you right to me.
Say it with me now. Don't judge a book by its cover. If you've seen the movie version of Wicked, then you know the casting is perfect, but it could have gone in many different directions. It's always interesting to see what could have been, so let's take a look at 20 celebs who were almost cast in Wicked.
Oh my god, yeah, the dream role. Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the famous faces who could have been in Wicked, whether it was nothing more than just a rumor, or they actually confirmed they had auditioned.
Yes. I'm like backstage painting myself green, just waiting for
Yes, good.
Number 20, Spencer Sutherland. You might know this actor-singer from his 2017 hit Selfish, or his time on the UK's The X Factor.
Ooh, this feeling's cool, you got me selfish. When I'm with you, damn, it's got me helpless.
Or maybe you spotted him in the TV series I Know What You Did Last Summer, or Afterlife of the Party with Victoria Justice. While appearing on The Zach Sang Show, Sutherland revealed that he had actually landed a callback for Fiyero in the Wicked movie. Even though he felt good about his audition, he wasn't exactly shocked when he didn't get it.
I got a callback for the Wicked.
Oh yeah, Fiyero?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great audition, and then
They saw probably, 1,500 people for it.
Yeah.
I'm
just saying.
sorry, I know.
It's okay.
Do you really thought you were gonna get it?
No.
Although when you come that close, we imagine it's hard not to get your hopes up just a little. Still, he gave listeners a teeny tiny sneak peek of what his Fiyero might have sounded like.
Maybe I'm crazy. No, I'm kidding. I start doing the whole Fiyero. Maybe I'm blind. I kind of do something like that in the audition. It's kind of fun.
Number 19, Jessie J. The British singer is rumored to have auditioned for Elphaba in the Wicked movie.
Held in such high esteem. When people see me, they will scream. For half of Oz's favorite team.
You might not know this, but Jessie J is a theater kid at heart, having attended a performing arts school. She got her first West End break at just 11 years old in Andrew Lloyd Webber's Whistle Down the Wind. Her career later veered toward pop stardom with hits like Domino, Flashlight, and Price Tag. Plus, we already know that she and Ariana Grande sound banging together. In 2021, Jessie shared a video of herself singing Defying Gravity. Could this have been an audition tape or even just her way of sending good vibes into the universe?
Flying high, defying gravity, and so I'll match them in renown.
Number 18, Bryan Cranston. From Malcolm in the Middle to Breaking Bad, Cranston has proven that he's got some serious range. We could definitely see a version of the wizard that's played by Hal in Walt's Love Child.
Fame and scandal. He may ride forever 'neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who'll never return.
Let's not forget he's also a Tony Award-winning actor. Sure, it was for a play, but a Tony's a Tony. While singing might not be his signature skill, Cranston has surprised us with his vocal talents before.
And no one dared disturb the sound of silence.
Jeff Goldblum is undeniably brilliant as the wizard, but part of us can't help wondering what Cranston would bring to the role. Though his audition is still just a rumor, if there's a tape out there, we'd love to get our hands on it.
He's B-R-Y-A-B-R-Y-A-N-C-R-A-N-S-T-O-N, Bryan Cranston.
Number 17, Imelda Staunton. Does anyone else feel like Madame Morrible and Dolores Umbridge would be total besties?
You have been told that a certain dark wizard is at large once again. This is a lie.
Given Imelda Staunton's brilliant portrayal of the latter, it's easy to imagine her as Shiz's head mistress. With a stage resume boasting roles like Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd, Mama Rose in Gypsy, and Dolly Levi in Hello Dolly, and more, Staunton clearly has the chops for larger-than-life characters.
I want you so, it's like I'm losing my mind.
While this casting rumor is just that, a rumor, it's fun to dream. In 2021, her plate was pretty full, starring in Apple TV Plus's Trying, and preparing to take over as Queen Elizabeth in The Crown. Still, with Wicked thriving on both sides of the pond, you never know, things could still be coming up Morrible for the actress.
Everything things coming up, roses for me and for you.
Number 16, Ashley Park. Today, Park is perhaps best known as Mindy in Emily in Paris, where her stunning voice has taken center stage several times. But she has theater roots too, with performances in Miss Saigon, Mamma Mia, The King and I, and more. She also originated the role of Gretchen Wieners in Mean Girls on Broadway, earning a Tony nomination for Best Featured Actress in a Musical.
Yes, Regina, no, Regina. Every waking hour I spend making sure Regina George can stay in power. If Regina is the sun, then I'm a disco ball, 'cause I'm just as bright and fun if you've had alcohol.
There are whispers that she's among the Mean Girls alums who auditioned to play Glinda in John M. Chu's Wicked adaptation. And if her TikTok reaction to watching the movie is anything to judge by, we couldn't be happier to see her in the role on stage someday.
Polka, Linda, Foster,
Number 15, Taylor Louderman. What is it about the plastics that just screams Glinda? Or nearly does, should we say. Musical theater fans will know Louderman from shows like Kinky Boots, Bring It On the Musical, and of course as the original Regina George in Mean Girls on Broadway.
I am a massive deal. Fear me, love me, stand and stare at me.
She also set her sights on playing Glinda in John M. Chu's Wicked adaptation, but sadly, it wasn't meant to be. In a screenshot of an Instagram story, Louderman seemed to express her disappointment about losing the role to a bigger name. She opened up about the heartbreak of putting your soul into a project you care about deeply, while trying your best to maintain a thick skin. Sounds like someone made the burn book.
I don't care who you are. I don't care how you
Just kidding. But if she had one, she wouldn't be the only mean girl writing in it. More on that later.
We'll get through this, and we know this. So let's go with the whole world on notice.
Number 14, Anna Kendrick. Anna Kendrick is no stranger to singing on screen, with roles in Pitch Perfect, The Last 5 Years, and Into the Woods.
And I've learned something too, something I never knew. On the steps of the
Her name has surely topped many Wicked Dreamcast lists. Even Amanda Seyfried once said Kendrick would be her ideal Elphaba to play opposite her Glinda.
Waiting 5 hours in line and watching the girls just coming and going in dresses that look just like this. Till my number is finally called.
When asked about it, Kendrick told E! News that she didn't want to, quote, create a thing, adding, Wicked is a masterpiece and a classic, and it's an iconic show. And that's all I'll say about that. Cryptic much, Anna? Feel free to stoke those rumors. We know she's got what it takes. Her duet with OG Glinda Kristen Chenoweth will stay with us for good.
like a stream that meets like a sea drum, I am halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better?
Number 13, Steve Martin. If you're thinking, Steve Martin, that famously nice guy playing the morally ambiguous wizard?
Which of the Pickwick triplets did it? Who of the crew would commit this crime? My little frat, make it out equals fat. It's a story, little story for a nursery rhyme.
Let us remind you that he starred in a movie called The Jerk. Also, we have just one word for you, dentist. Martin showed he could tap into his wicked side when he played the fear-inducing Orin Scrivello in Little Shop of Horrors.
Your dentist, and I enjoy the career that I picked. I'm your dentist, and I get off on the pain I inflict.
He also co-composed the music for the 2016 musical Bright Star, and is a talented bluegrass artist, even winning a Grammy for his debut solo album, The Crow, New Songs for the 5-String Banjo. With his perfect comedy timing, charisma, and versatility, we're sure Martin would have been a great fit for the Wizard if Goldblum had been unavailable. But again, this is just a rumor. Number 12, Nicole Scherzinger. A screen adaptation of Wicked has been discussed for years, so it's no surprise that a ton of names have been floated for the role of Elphaba. One unconfirmed potential was the former Pussycat doll. She reportedly had discussions with producers, but ultimately decided to pass on the role. Beyond her pop career, Scherzinger is a classically trained artist who attended a performing arts school. Recently, fans have been amazed by her vocal range in stage shows like Rent, Cats, and Sunset Boulevard. She's even performed songs from other Andrew Lloyd Webber classics. Needless to say, her talent to take on almost any role is truly unlimited. Number 11, Jennifer Lopez. Don't be fooled by the rocks that she's got. J-Lo is another celeb who reportedly hoped to land the role of Madame Morrible in Wicked. While Lopez isn't known for her musical theater background, she's undeniably a triple threat. She has some stage credits, from a school production of Godspell to touring regional shows like Jesus Christ Superstar and Oklahoma. Outside of her music career, we've seen her in musical roles in This Is Me Now, A Love Story, and, of course, Selena. Anyway, as we now know, the role went to Michelle Yeoh. However, J-Lo attended the LA premiere of Wicked, so even if the rumors are baseless, we know she's definitely a fan. Number 10, Christen Motti. Have you met Christen Motti? The self-professed Wicked superfan revealed that the film's team reached out to her for an audition. While playing Elphaba would have been a dream role, the pressure of hitting that iconic Defying Gravity riff weighed heavily on her mind leading up to the audition.
All I could hear was like, and anytime I would talk to someone, I would be 500 miles away, just quietly thinking of over and over and over.
She shared her experience with Jimmy Fallon, saying everything went well until that moment. Honestly, the way she tells it is quite funny.
The sound that escaped me is something I will hear on my deathbed. I will never not hear what I did in that room. Really? It was disgusting.
Motti, who played Girl in the Tony Award-winning musical Once, and earned a Best Actress in a Musical nomination, shared her desire to return to the stage. With a little more practice on that battle cry, who knows? Elphaba could still be in her future.
Raise your hopeful voice. You have a choice.
Number 9, Ryan McCartan. This actor is no stranger to the world of Wicked, having played Fiyero during the show's 15th anniversary. McCartan's range is undeniable. You might recognize him as Diggy Smalls from Liv and Maddie, or as JD from the original off-Broadway cast of Heathers the Musical. He's kept busy acting on stage and screen, and even co-launched a YouTube channel called The Stage Door. It's there that he revealed he had auditioned to play Fiyero in the movie.
You didn't cast me in the movie even though I worked so hard. That's fine. No hard feelings. Confirmed I did audition. Have I said that on this channel before?
No, you haven't.
In a reaction video to the film's trailer, McCartan jokingly said he had, quote, no hard feelings toward Chew. He even hilariously fished for a premiere invite as compensation for the snub.
A little consolation prize. Maybe a little invite for the Stage Door.
Number 8, Renee Rapp. Her name is Renee Rapp, and she's a massive deal.
My name is Regina George, and in case you're keeping score, Katie may have won the battle, but I will win the war.
We told you there would be another plastic on our list. Rapp is instantly recognizable for her powerhouse vocals in both the stage and 2024 screen adaptations of Mean Girls, where she played Queen Bee Regina George.
You could set me free, but if you're going, go.
Maybe you know her from the HBO teen com The Sex Lives of College Girls, or perhaps you've been following her music career. During a Q&A segment on Watch What Happens Live After Show, Rapp had to break it to a fan that Ariana Grande had already been announced for the role of Glinda.
Is there any truth to the rumor that you were in the running to play Glinda in the upcoming film Wicked?
So no, because it is Ariana Grande. But thank you.
She also revealed that she auditioned for the part, and while she didn't get it, she seems pretty content to have lost out to Grande.
Did you audition?
I did.
You did audition for it?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Ariana's gonna be... Can I cuss?
Yeah.
Okay, she's gonna be amazing.
Number 7, Shawn Mendes. As we mentioned earlier, a screen adaptation of Wicked has been in the works for years. At one point, multi-award-winning director/producer Stephen Daldry was attached to the project. While he was at the helm, Canadian singer-songwriter Shawn Mendes was reportedly being considered for the role of Fiyero. Mendes definitely has the look of Shiz's heartthrob, and you might be surprised to learn he's dabbled in acting too.
I know I can treat you better.
As a child, he took acting lessons and even auditioned for the Disney Channel in Toronto. Though he admits his nerves got the best of him when it came to learning lines. He certainly looks the part, and we're curious to see how he'd fare in the role. Number 6, Amy Adams. Amy Adams is one of those actors who simply can't be pigeonholed. From American Hustle to Enchanted and a long list of Oscar-nominated roles, Adams has proven she can do it all. Yet there's one role she's always wanted to add to her impressive resume. While unsure if she had the stamina for an 8-show week, Adams hoped the chance to play Elphaba would come her way, perhaps for a one-off performance. Adams began her career in dinner theater, but most first saw her as a triple threat when she played Giselle in Enchanted, alongside OG Elphaba Idina Menzel, and again in The Muppets. Thanks to Disenchanted, we got a glimpse of her wicked side too. Number 5, Dove Cameron. You know Cameron from Liv and Maddie and from Hairspray Live, where she starred alongside Ariana Grande and original Glinda Kristen Chenoweth. She also shared the screen with Chenoweth in Schmigadoon and Descendants.
Don't you wanna be evil like me? Don't you wanna be cruel? Don't you wanna be nasty and brutal and cool?
Cameron is another star who revealed she auditioned to play Glinda. In 2019, she was already addressing rumors about being cast, sharing that the role was a childhood dream.
Oh my god, I would love to do it. I'd love to do it. I mean, I think every girl on the face of the planet would love to be a part of Wicked.
More recently, she described the audition process as a journey, saying, quote, "It was one of the longer processes I've been a part of. Even though she didn't land the role, she's ready to be her friend Ariana's biggest cheerleader. With her ties to Wicked royalty, who knows? Maybe Broadway will come calling, and she'll still get Glindified someday."
Oh my god, yeah, the dream role.
Number 4, Joe and Nick Jonas. The competition to land a role in the highly anticipated Wicked movie must have been fierce. Now imagine part of that competition is your own sibling.
Most recently, and we've never talked about this publicly, so I'm going to say it here, but we both auditioned for the same role, Joe and I. It was for Wicked.
When the Jonas Brothers popped into Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast, Nick shared that both he and Joe auditioned for Fiyero. But no worries, there wasn't much rivalry since they both wanted, quote, someone with the last name Jonas to win.
We're competitive in sports and other things, but when it comes to our career, I think we genuinely both looked at each other
Yeah,
and
we said, like,
Go in there and kill it, because it's got to be one of us.
It has to be one of us.
Nick also told Variety that he felt he nailed his audition, adding that it was a role he, quote, always thought would be fun to play. While the part ultimately went to Jonathan Bailey, it sounds like Nick is excited to enjoy his Wicked experience as a fan.
Yeah, that being said,
It was a Smith.
never got that call.
Number 3, Lea Michele. Given how many people saw striking similarities between the Glee actress and the woman who would later play her on-screen mom, it's no surprise fans expected Lea Michele to follow in her footsteps.
Hold my hand and we're halfway there. Hold my hand and I'll take you there.
By the sounds of it, Michelle wouldn't have minded hopping on that broomstick either. During an appearance on Watch What Happens Live, she was asked if she was in the running to play Elphaba.
I don't think that they've gotten to the point of talking to people about it yet. If they have, they haven't called me.
But you'd be into it, right?
I would, yes.
Yes.
I'm like backstage
That would-
painting myself green, just waiting for
Yes,
them.
good.
She admitted she hadn't received any calls, but let's be honest, Michelle has more than proven she's got what it takes. At the time, though, it seemed like it would remain nothing but a dream. Still, she seemed ready, with the green paint on standby just in case.
Bring me down.
Number 2, Amanda Seyfried. Many of us first met Seyfried as Karen Smith in Mean Girls, but she's also shown off her musical talent in movie musicals like Les Miserables and both Mamma Mia films.
Don't go wasting your emotion. Lay all your love on me.
Seyfried hoped to add Glinda from Wicked to that list, sharing that she auditioned while juggling her role in Hulu's The Dropout. She said she, quote, bent over backwards for her audition while, quote, playing the hardest role of her life. Seyfried also explained that she wasn't totally satisfied with her performance as Cosette and wanted to show how much her vocal skills have improved since then.
And it seems the world that I long to see out of reach, just a whisper away, waiting for me.
She even joked that the audition still haunts her dreams. As we know, she didn't land the gig. Well, as Elphaba says, we can't all come and go by bubble.
I found what I felt like I was born to do.
Number 1, Lady Gaga. Back when Stephen Daldry was in charge, Lady Gaga was hoping fortune would rain on her to land the role of Elphaba. Talks reportedly began between the director and the singer, but they fell apart when Daldry had to step away due to scheduling conflicts. Gaga, born Stephanie Germanotta, originally dreamed of acting but pivoted to music after struggling to break into the industry. That pivot paid off. 13 Grammys and 18 VMAs later, she turned her sights back to acting. From American Horror Story to starring in movie musicals like A Star is Born and Joker Folie à Deux, Gaga's talents are outstanding. Still, it wasn't meant for her to be just dancing through life. We think we can all agree the film was perfectly cast, but there's still always the stage. So who do you think would be the perfect casting for the show?
We have nothing but the highest hopes for some of you.
So are you happy with how everything went down, or are you curious about how Lady Gaga would have sung Defying Gravity? For me, it's both. But anyway, since I never had the opportunity to see the musical before I saw the movie, I had a lot of questions when I left the theater. If you're in the same boat, here are 10 things that will get answered in Wicked Part 2.
Though it is, I admit, the tiniest bit unlike I anticipated.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the plot points and character developments that will be addressed in Wicked Part 2. We wouldn't want you to be devastated by spoilers, and there are some big ones, so this is your warning.
We have a lot of special things in movie 2 that come to mind, but I can't talk about them yet.
Yeah.
So, later.
Number 10. Is there a time jump between parts 1 and 2?
There are bridges you cross you didn't know you crossed until you crossed.
The short answer is yes. While the show doesn't specify a time frame, Gregory Maguire's novel suggests it's been about 5 years. By now, Glinda is widely known as Glinda the Good, leaving her shiz days far behind.
It's good to see me, isn't it?
There's no reason the musical shouldn't follow this timeline too. In fact, March of the Witch Hunters hints at a time shift.
And the lion also has a grievance to repay. If she let him fight his own battles when he was young, he wouldn't be a coward today.
So where's Elphaba been all this time? Well, as we know, she's a fervent animal activist who had just learned that the wizard was behind their oppression. So after she flies away, she fully commits to her role as their defender.
And sort of becomes this really beautiful, unselfish crusade to help the animals.
Oh.
Act 2's opening number, thank goodness, catches us up on what's happened. Well, at least one version of the story.
Give us warning, where will she strike next?
Number 9. Who was Elphaba's mom's mystery man?
And like every family, they had their secrets.
Have another drink, my dark-eyed beauty. I've got one more night left here in town.
In the opening number, No One Mourns the Wicked, Glinda tries to garner some compassion for Elphaba.
Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them?
In a flashback to before she was born, we learn that her mother wasn't entirely faithful to her father. Both on stage and in the movie, the identity of this mystery lover remains a secret, though his green elixir likely explains why Elphaba was born green.
Like a froggy, ferny cabbage, the baby is unnaturally
green. If you haven't yet figured out who he is, all will be revealed near the end of Part 2, if the movie stays true to the show. We won't give it away, but if you've been paying attention, much like the Yellow Brick Road, all the clues will lead you to the answer. Number 8. What happened to Dr. Dillamond?
Listen to me! You're not being told the whole story!
You can't permit this.
I'm afraid it's out of our hands.
The last time we saw Shiz's history professor, he was warning his students while being dragged from his classroom. Before that, we saw his efforts to raise awareness about the plight of animals and meeting with colleagues to discuss the something bad happening across Oz.
We animals are now being blamed for everything that goes wrong.
After he's replaced, the students are shown how the regime plans to use cages to strip animals of their equality. In Act 2, Elphaba returns to the Emerald City to free the flying monkeys, but the wizard intervenes and tries to convince her they'd still make a wonderful team.
They call me wonderful, so I am one. In fact, it's so much who I am. It's part of my name. And with my help, you can be the same.
She's almost swayed until she finds her old professor, whose condition makes her even more adamant to take down the wizard.
You have no real power.
Exactly. That's why I need you.
Number 7. Will there be any new songs?
That's gonna be a moment. I'm not that girl with praise.
Imagine.
Part 1 featured some lyric changes and a new section in one short day, but the soundtrack largely remained the same as fans know it.
Dancing through life, mindless and careless. Make sure you're awareness when you're dancing through life.
Composer Stephen Schwartz wrote new songs for Part 1, but they were ultimately deemed unnecessary. However, he confirmed that Part 2 will include 2 new songs, which he felt were, quote, dramatically necessary.
I was going to name them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know them, nor have I ever heard them.
Have you not?
No, have you? Were you in those scenes?
No, I'm not in the scene. No, I'm not.
A duet between Fiyero and the wizard?
My name's Oz, and my name's Fiyero.
And my name's the wizard.
Director John M. Chu clarified that these songs will likely be added to the existing soundtrack, as he doesn't plan to cut any of the original score. That said, he noted the importance of pacing and staying true to, quote, the sanctity of the show, meaning some songs might have updated lyrics or be rearranged to better fit the story. Number 6. The End. Does Elphaba get melted? If, before watching Part 1, all you knew of these characters was from The Wizard of Oz, you might be thinking, oh no, I don't want Elphaba to melt. But yes, that iconic moment had to make its way into the show, only this time it's more bittersweet. Before that, Elphaba has Dorothy captive. Glinda shows up to warn her of trouble ahead and tries to convince her to free the girl. After Elphaba gets a mysterious letter, she urges Glinda to back off to protect herself. They say goodbye for good, and Glinda watches her friend melt. As for the wizard, Elphaba might not be the one who stops him, but let's just say it's no coincidence he's so eager to escort Dorothy home.
You forced me into a cataclysmic decision. The only way to get Dorothy back to Kansas is for me to take her there myself.
Number 5. How does Glinda become Glinda the Good?
It is my heart's desire to become a sorceress. Seriously?
In part 1, Glinda dreams of becoming a sorceress, but Madame Morrible has little faith in her and doesn't seem to like her much either.
You, come with me.
Of course.
Not you. You. You're the one the wizard has been waiting for.
She only agrees to mentor Glinda at Elphaba's request. By the end of part 1, though, she seemingly changes her tune, comforting Glinda as Elphaba flies away. In part 2, we discovered that this was all part of her plan to win Glinda over.
She's using these two girls to her endgame. It's when you suddenly realize, oh no, the mother figure is not what she thinks.
During Thank Goodness, she fabricates a story about how Glinda reached her position.
When you bowed before his throne, he decreed you'd hence be known as Glinda the Good, officially.
Glinda knows she doesn't deserve it, but remains silent in the face of injustice and lies. While she starts part 2 as Glinda the Good, her story is about truly earning that title. Number 4. Does the Elphaba, Fiyero, and Glinda love triangle develop?
We didn't see you there. You must have blended with the foliage.
Is this how you go through life? Just running amok and trampling anyone in your path?
No. No. Sometimes I'm asleep.
When Fiyero first shows up at Shiz, he and Glinda seemed like the perfect couple. But as he gets to know Elphaba, he starts seeing the world differently and is straw-struck by her.
I see that the responsibility to corrupt my fellow students falls to me.
You pretend to be shallow and self-absorbed.
Excuse me. There is no pretense here. I happen to be genuinely self-absorbed and deeply shallow.
Oh, did we say straw? Can't imagine why.
Maybe I'm brainless, maybe I'm wise, but you've got me seeing through different eyes.
Anyway, Elphaba feels the spark too, but he's dating her bestie, so, awkward. When he comes to see Elphaba off to the Emerald City, even Glinda senses their chemistry. Act 2 opens with a surprise engagement party, where Fiyero refuses to let lies about Elphaba slide and makes it his mission to find her. Our hearts soared when they reunited, but we ached for Glinda as she realizes she's not that girl.
Wishing only wounds the heart.
Number 3. How does Nessa Rose become the Wicked Witch of the East?
That perfectly adorable Munchkin boy just asked me out.
How does sweet, unassuming Nessa Rose become the tyrannical leader of Munchkinland? Much of this is explored in the song Wicked Witch of the East, which was omitted from the soundtrack for being too content-heavy. We learn that Nessa is resentful of Elphaba for not using her magic to help her. Elphaba does find a way, enchanting her shoes, which explains why she's so obsessed with getting them back from Dorothy later.
Give me back my slippers. I'm the only one that knows how to use them. They're no use to you. Give them back to me. Give them back.
Keep tight inside of them. Their magic must be very powerful, or she wouldn't want them so badly.
You stay out of this, Glinda.
Meanwhile, Nessa realizes Boxheart isn't tin in their relationship, so she abuses her power to force him to stay. Yet when he decides to pursue Glinda, Nessa tries to cast a love spell. But the results aren't exactly what she had in mind.
So for once I'm glad I'm heartless. I'll be heartless killing her.
Number 2. Do Elphaba and Glinda ever reunite?
It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime.
Yes, they do, but not under the best circumstances. Glinda's fiancé leaves her for Elphaba, and her retaliation is unintentionally crushing. Then Glinda gives away Nessa's shoes. This scene sets Elphaba on her path to fully embrace the title of Wicked Witch.
I promise no good deed will I attempt to do again. No good deed will I do.
But don't worry, this isn't the last time they cross paths. When Glinda realizes she's been manipulated, she rushes to warn Elphaba about the angry mob headed her way. This all ties into For Good, which is the emotional heart of their story. The friends say their final goodbyes, acknowledging the profound impact they've had on each other.
And now whatever way our stories end, oh, you have rewritten mine by being my friend.
All we're saying is make sure you're well stocked on tissues for this moment. Number 1. How does it connect with the plot of The Wizard of Oz?
Fellow Ozians, the Wicked Witch of the West is dead.
The opening scene of Part 1 takes us to the aftermath of Elphaba's melting, with Glinda confirming the events as we know them to her fellow Ozians. In the trailer, you can spot Dorothy and her companions on the yellow brick road, heading toward the Emerald City. Pay attention to what Dorothy's holding.
But if we do that, we'll have to kill her to get it.
As we saw in Act 2, Dorothy has crash-landed in Oz and skipped off to see the wizard in those magical slippers. Another teaser shows Dorothy in her audience with the wizard as he orders, "Bring her to me." Fans of The Wizard of Oz will see the story they know play out in Part 2, but from a totally thrillifying and scandalous new perspective. What else are you hoping to see in Wicked Part 2?
If there are no further questions, I'm gonna go.
When I got home from Wicked Part 1, I immediately read up on what was to come because I couldn't wait to find out. Did you do the same, or had you seen the musical? What's your favorite Wicked song? How do you feel about the movie being split in two? Which Elphaba sings the Defying Gravity ending the best? Ooh, that's a spicy one. As always, thank you for joining me on this thrillifying journey through the MsMojo archives. See ya.